Lucasfilm released the official Solo: A Star Wars Story synopsis. Now, I'm going to read this to you, David, and I gotta say, I think it's pretty lame.
I'm on the same boat. I mean, wow, they could not have told us anything less in this statement.
Board the Millennium Falcon and journey to a galaxy far, far away in Solo: A Star Wars Story, an all-new adventure with the most beloved scoundrel in the galaxy. A beloved scoundrel. Okay. Through a series of daring escapades deep within a dark and dangerous criminal underworld, Han Solo meets his mighty future co-pilot Chewbacca and encounters the notorious gambler Lando Calrissian in a journey that will be setting the course, in a journey that will set the course of one of the Star Wars saga's most unlikely heroes. Now, to me, that sounds like the board you read outside a really shitty Six Flags ride. I'm just gonna be real honest about it. That is just a really boring, lackluster synopsis. I feel like I'm at a theme park reading that.
That's like if somebody came up to me and asked me, you do this podcast, what's the movie about? That's the garble I would throw back at them, having only seen bits and pieces on the internet. Like, that's nothing. There is nothing in there that we haven't heard through Ron Howard's interviews or his Instagram, his social media.
So, yeah, that's my favorite thing is when you read the synopsis on the official website, the page that was on StarWars.com, right below the synopsis, they're like, well, not much more information is available on this story right now, but if you want to go look at Ron Howard's social media, we've compiled all those photos for you to enjoy. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. That's your way you're going to release, because, go ahead.
And they're releasing this now. In 4 months, we're still expecting a damn movie?
Yes. But now here's the thing. So they released, this is the synopsis, so they've released it, and I don't quite remember them releasing a synopsis for the 3 previous movies. But I will tell you this. If this is here, that means that the marketing will begin soon. If Disney and Lucasfilm is pushing out the synopsis, here's a little something. Hopefully that means we're going to get a trailer soon. But I'll tell you this. What I would have hoped to get in a synopsis is, journey back 5 years before, A New Hope, where we go to this planet. And we've, set the scene more. Don't give me this paintbrush viewpoint of the movie. Take me to I don't know, some planet, Corellia. Take me, deep in the I don't know.
There are so many people that I've talked to who do not need this movie, do not need somebody who's not Harrison Ford playing Han Solo. They would almost do better if they were selling me a movie on the Millennium Falcon. See the Millennium Falcon save Wookiees from the Kessel Mines and partake in the Kessel Run.
See,
that would have been more exciting than this garbage that they just. What is Disney trying to accomplish by still pushing this movie out in May? I don't get it.
Well, if the movie is able to be done, great. But it does make me a little uncomfortable that we're almost at the end of January, and we don't have the trailer. But I mean, if they're doing some mild reshoots, there was a report that the movie had to go back for a few reshoots, and they still think they can slide those in and get it done by May. That's great, but I think when you start talking about that kind of a situation, it reminds me of a Justice League scenario where I get in the movie theater, I watch a movie, and there's points where I don't feel like they finished it. Like the CG's not 100%, or it's clearly green screen. But you know my stance, and if you watch the show, that you know my stance, which is I firmly believe that this movie should have always been slated for a December release, and it should be pushed back for a December release.
We talked about it a couple weeks ago, but we didn't go too in-depth on one of the stories. But there's some other nerd movies that they thought would do well on such short notice of marketing. Things like Jonah Hex, Ghostbusters, the last one with the 4 gals in it, and they all were not considered box office successes. So if we're looking at this niche of people who like the sci-fi stuff, and we've seen it over and over again with 5 or 6 different movies where they don't market it well, the movies just flop. Is Disney setting themselves up to be in that same boat? And if they are they doing it on purpose? Because it's right next to several other big movies coming out. Are they trying to compete with that against themselves? I don't see what they're thinking by doing this in May.
I think this movie is not going to make nearly as much money compared to Rogue One and the 2 saga films.
I don't think it needs to.
But you want the movie to make some kind of profit. I mean, you think about it, with Chris Lord, Phil Miller, then Ron Howard taking it over, and then if Ron Howard has to do some reshoots, Now, you're basically talking about shooting 2 movies. So, what's the budget on this thing? We don't know. But we know that for a movie to make profit at the box office, it has to make 2.5 times the amount spent. Okay? So, you want this movie to make money. You don't want them to lose money. And there's people on the internet saying, oh, Kathleen Kennedy needs to be removed. She's not going to get removed. Kathleen Kennedy at the helm of Star Wars, since they bought it from Lucas, has already made back the money that they spent to buy it from Lucas.
$9 billion.
Well, that's the franchise overall, but I mean, it's the 4 point whatever billion dollars it was from Lucas. But that's my point. She's not going anywhere, nor does she really need to.
I don't
but
want to see her leave.
It is poor strategy, I think, to put this movie in May. I'm thinking this movie makes maybe $400 million, and that's a lot of money. But it's not a lot of money when you can compare it to the fact that it's a Star Wars movie. You compare it to the 3 previous Star Wars movies, and then how much money they've had to invest in getting a new director, basically shooting as much as 80% of this movie. Ron Howard made an appearance on TV within the last 10 days. They didn't call him the co-director of Star Wars, a Han Solo movie, or whatever the hell the movie is. They call him the director of Solo. Like, Phil Lord, Chris Miller, out of the picture entirely. This movie is his. So I think if Ron Howard, who is a veteran director, says, this is a good movie, I'm comfortable with keeping the May date, I'll have confidence in Ron.
I still think they're making a mistake.
Okay, well,
Just me. A good movie or not, if they have a good movie and nobody knows about it,
4 months, like, there's time to inject it. I mean, here's the thing is, in 4 months, you can still throw the trailer out there. I think it's going to come before the Super Bowl, because they're not going to pay money. They're not going to pay Super Bowl money to run the trailer when they can post it any day and they can break the internet. So you get that, and you have your 15 TV spots.
you see, I think they need to spend the money to do a Super Bowl trailer. If they want to advertise this still and try to compete with the other movies coming out, it needs to be everywhere. It needs to be on every Facebook ad. It needs to be on every YouTube ad. It needs to be on subways. It needs to be on kids' toys in every restaurant. It needs to be plastered everywhere for 4 straight months if they're going to be successful, I think.
Nope. We'll see what happens. We'll only know come May.